in walks a man
with his pants smoldering.
This video is for entertainment purposes only. We here at Space Galleria do not condone the use of any drugs.
Now on with the show. Hi, my name is Shane, and I like to do things. And when you tune into Space Galleria, you might see Saturday morning art tunes. And I hope you join me for that, because that is one of the most complicated art shows that I have, even though it's silly and we mostly do cartooning. You, as a subscriber, will send me a squiggle, and then we turn that into something. And during that video, everybody gets a say in what we turn it into. So please join me on that. Also on Space Galleria, we craft. As you see here, we're restoring hammers. And this hammer is kind of a family heirloom, so I just want to, pay respect to the time this hammer spent in the dirt. And sometimes you might even see me working on my train set. Or even live painting shows. I really can't forget about the most common thing I probably do on this channel. Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays are obviously the Art Goon shows. Sundays, we generally have an edited version of the Saturday show happening. And then Mondays, we're back to live painting. And Tuesday and Wednesday are my weekends when I tend to game. So join me on every one of those occasions. Now let's get back to the story that I promised. Today we're gonna straight restore these hammers. And while we restore these hammers, I figure it's a great opportunity for me to tell you a story. This is a true story, and it happened at Space Smoke Shop in probably around 2015. And if you remember 2015 like I do, as a downtown owner of a smoke shop, you would remember that there was a crazy spice epidemic going on. I mean, pretty much everywhere across the country. It was called synthetic marijuana, even though it had nothing to do with marijuana other than, I guess, people smoked it. Yes, we obviously sold it for a little while. If there is money to be made in anything and you're a retail store, basically you end up following suit because you don't want to be left out of any money that could be there legitimately, legally, what have you. Perhaps you can make some ethical decisions, as we did. We stopped selling spice very early on in the game, but it did not matter how many times you could tell somebody, listen, we do not sell it. They would come back because they smoked it, and they just, I don't know if they thought we were lying and they just kept trying, or they would just forget. But either way, we got visited by spice people all the time. The governments in control of legislation seem to have been working at trying to keep this illegal. So what they would do is outlaw a certain chemical composition, and then the makers of these spices would then just change the chemical composition a little bit, and now boom, it's legal. So there was this cat and mouse game going back and forth, back and forth. So there were allowable smoke shops in the Wild West days of spice that were selling it, and they were doing it legally. The product just kept getting worse and worse and worse because they had to figure out different ways of obviously creating this problem or drug. So all right, we had a lot of spice heads coming in, right? That's basically what we're going on here. Too many to count, really. So we set the scene in Tucson in mid-afternoon on a beautiful summer's day, and in walks a man with his pants smoldering and smoking. And I'm not saying he was smoking like a cigarette or like cannabis, because either one of those would have been all right, even though cannabis was still illegal. We were a pretty progressive store, so, that would have been fine. No. Pants smoking. He is wearing tennis shoes, However, nothing is affected except for one pant leg. Now immediately one of the employees jumps from behind the counter with a bottle of water, pours it on his foot. He then proceeds to call me his dad. And wait, before I go any further, let me just say that I think mental health issues are serious. However, I am not a professional, but my opinion, I don't think he was one of the local mentally divergent characters that we would deal with on the regular. And boy, did we have a lot of characters that we dealt with on the regular. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I can go on. I may even produce a video that does a pure poetry session that I collected poetry from an individual. Blows my mind. That's for the future. Back to the story. This man, I think, was simply under the influence of spice. He may have made some poor choices leading up to this moment. His clothes weren't in good shape. However, they were newer. At least they seemed like they started this adventure in a closet. You know what I'm saying? So after mistaking me for his father, at least asking, "Are you my dad?" he then proceeded to bow, get on both hands and knees, and then rise and fall in a bowing motion. This is the point where in any store you have to make some pretty serious decisions seriously fast. You have other customers in the store. People are obviously uncomfortable because there is a man who has recently been on fire, now bowing and praising some dude behind a counter. I mean, not just any dude behind a counter. I guess looking back on it, he really understood the power I wielded as an owner of this fine establishment. Yeah, back to it. And you've got to know, these are all group efforts, man. If you're running a store anywhere, USA, must have more than one person in the store at all times, for God's sake. I mean, really, at all times. I've been into multiple occasions in my store over the 7-year period it was functioning that I was so happy that more than one or even sometimes more than two people were there. So, take that in mind. It's modern civilization now, baby. Honestly, I don't even know what it would be like to own a retail store these days, let alone Amazon's got you. I didn't even work in any Chinese glass or Indian glass. It was literally just American-made stuff. So that alone, and social disorder, whatever's going on, all that has got to make it super difficult to own anything. But hey, this isn't a video about that. This is a video about a man on fire. Let's get back to it. Like people coming into my store on fire. So, back to the story. We got this guy. He's just doing his thing, bowing on the floor. And like I say, as a group, we then corral him and take him out to the front sidewalk where he can then be let free like a young bird, if you will. Props to my employees back in the day. You know who you are. Thank you very much for all the hard work you all put in. Feel free to throw comments down below and say hey. I think the people here would love to hear from the heroes who were supporting Space Smoke Shop back in the day. So back to the story one final time. Last we heard, we had set him free like a young bird. And at that moment, we pour more water on his feet to make sure he is fully put out. We knew this was a delicate situation, so just want to respect it, We would guess the story would end there, right? Like we quashed a nice little peaceful thing. Nothing really happened. man walked into the store on fire. It's a good story. And you'd think it would just end. And it doesn't get, like, crazier. It just becomes a bigger puzzle. Later in the evening, I have to get some food for the crew. I take the skateboard out to go pick up the food that we ordered. I see about a block away from us our friend on the side of the road, handcuffed and kind of smoldering. Some smoke is emanating from his body. There is a group of police officers around him, completely puzzled. He has now burned his pant leg that was on fire in my store completely all the way up past his pockets. That one's completely gone. He has now started on his other pant leg, which is exactly like I said, smoldering, kind of just on fire. The police are rather confused. I could have gone over there and, thrown out a little explanation of what happened earlier and where this guy was at in his head, but some things you just leave to the wind. Now he is sitting on the ground and calmly talking to these officers. I do not know what happened to our friend, but these are some of the occasions that would go down in Space Smoke Shop. It certainly was a lot of fun, and I hope to tell you more stories in the future. And thank you for listening, everybody. I appreciate you. It was nice to reminisce a little bit about Space Smoke Shop and, a life that was so long ago. Let's just get to the glamour shots here, and thank you. Subscribe, like the video, all the good stuff. Share it with a friend if you like stories. Cheers, everyone. See you next time.